I didn't feel like doing it yesterday. But let's read my favorite Umineko episode after that, just like Umineko episode 4. Oh, why? Because they're both painful. Sorry I didn't read it today. Because episode 7 is just as heavy as episode 4 in that sense. Anyway, episode 7, Requiem of the Golden Witch. Good morning. Scheduled for today is the funeral of the Golden Witch and her game. The days of the game are already over. Nothing remains but fond memories. Here, the cold, hard truth will be revealed, and death will come to the game. There is a bit of difficulty to this one. Also, it introduces the coolest character ever. This story is obviously fictional and fantastic in nature. Any resemblance to existing individuals, organizations, or local incidents is entirely fictional. Or however it was done. Alright, hold on. Before we begin, I just want to do something special. Since I won't be able to play the song. Just give me a moment. I forgot the name of the song. Which really sucks. Ah, there it is. Because also it does Kiri no Pithos. Yes. Earth to earth. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, illusions to illusions, and dreams to dreams. A dream is something drawn in the sand between the coming and receding waves. Something so fragile that its wipe will blink every time a wave comes in. So the heartless might sneer, saying that drawing such things is useless and meaningless. However, no wave will ever come again to wipe away the dream she drew. And now that final beautiful dream of hers will not disappear for all eternity. Come, try and picture it. It's as though the rays of the gentle afternoon sun on a warm spring day simply forgot to grow dim ever again. It truly is such a wonderful thing. Witness to your final dream, Publius Virgilia Maro. The suspects were gathered in a room, and several inquisitors of heresy were reporting to the results of their investigation. Their uniforms closely resembled those of the Eisern Jungfrau, but they were slightly different. Also different were the badges and signifying their department. Then came the sound of someone clapping their hands once. It was the lead female inquisitor. She was announcing that all reasoning had been completed. As has been shown, it is all quite clear. Know that the preceding logic has been proven, and the non-existence of your alibi. At the other end of her pointing finger was a quivering maid with frightened eyes. Her name was... No, that is not important. What matters now is that she could have entered the closed room study where the victim was found whenever she pleased. And furthermore, that her claimed alibi for the time of the crime has been proven to contradict the facts. Shaking, the maid tried to continue her illogical pleading, but all of her statements had already been seen through. With this we conclude our proof of the who-done-it and the how-done-it. Know that your position as the culprit is now an unshakable fact. You must be joking! Why would I kill the master I love and respected so? I have no motive, no reason! Who did it and how? Know that establishing these is more than sufficient. Please allow me to speak. Know that motives are unnecessary and mysteries. The Inquisitor spoke coldly. After finishing her witch's prayer, Virgilia stepped back from the coffin, which lay on the altar bedecked with many beautiful roses. In her place, Balor moved to the front of the coffin wearing his territory lord's cape. Though the cape was supposed to represent dignity and majesty, it somehow made Balor look smaller. Balor held a book with a majestic binding in his hand. It was a game record that had just been written, or perhaps it was a tale, a game, or else a fragment. Written in it was the dream that would be more enjoyable for her than any other. Balor pressed it against his forehead and contemplated for some time. Then he kissed it and laid it gently in the coffin. It rested upon her chest. She looked like a little girl clutching her favorite stuffed animal as she drifted off to sleep. This is the sole tale I have offered up to you. This tale will be shut up with you in your coffin for all eternity, so no one will be able to read it except for you there in your coffin. Shut away in that cat box, the only, unchanging, inviolable, eternal tale. This way, no one will be able to defile it. No one can deny it, and no one can argue against it. This is just between me and her. Just the two of us. Our one and only certain truth. Those bastards! A man dashed through the town, wrapped in twilight. The daytime hustle and bustle of this beautiful village, which combined the traditional with the orderly and the classic style of the last century, now seemed like a mere dream. The orange setting sun was already hidden behind the clock tower. The narrow alleyway was rapidly descending into darkness. As the gaslights began to turn on, they only made the darkness of the twilight stand out all the more. The man sprinted. There was no time. He had to hurry. He had several experiments to do and things he had to check, and all had taken longer than he expected. Yes, there's no mistake there. The whodunit and the howdunit are more than enough in a mystery genre. In the mystery genre, the motive or the whydunit is given the lowest priority. To have a murder, you need to have a culprit, and he needs to have committed crime. Motive isn't required for that, so it's usually the most ignored element. In fact, these days, there are even some who call it unnecessary. If you find the culprit with nothing but the whydunit, that's no mystery. That's propaganda. However, just because of that fact, it doesn't mean you can neglect the motive, the heart. We both know how much fun she'll be having in her final sleep, so I doubt anyone could disturb it. After all, who could possibly disturb a sleeping child smiling at a happy dream? Come, it is time for us to leave. If we're too noisy, we'll wake her in from her dream. You're right. What else did you do with a sleeping kid, except put a blanket on them, turn off the lights, and walk away quietly? After looking at the coffin one last time, Virgilia turned around quietly. Balor did the same, but then he stopped and turned to face the rose-covered altar. Balor offered up his final words in his heart. As long as those words didn't leave his mouth, no one would be able to know what they were. However, those words of the heart caused Balor's expression to change several times. At first, he frowned sadly, then his face clouded with remorse, and then it changed to a bitter, exasperated smile. It flashed through several varied expressions. Then, the final expression that crossed his face was surprisingly a gentle smile. Something rose to Balor's lips, however he bit it back down. There could certainly be no words to describe the many feelings he kept in his chest. So, saying anything aloud would probably be crude. Balor understood this and stopped himself from speaking once more with a wry smile. Thank you. I have done nothing to deserve your gratitude. I'll leave the rest to you. After seeing Virgilia nod back at him, Balor turned away from the altar one more time and left the chapel. Virgilia also disappeared, and with that, all disturbances that might have interrupted her blissful sleep had vanished. The Inquisitors of Heresy listened with calm, no scornful gazes. They listened to the frantic babbling of the maid accused of murdering her master. However, nothing she said could bury the fault in her own alibi. They were all mere emotional arguments. I loved and respected the master so much, I had no motive for killing him. No matter how much she spoke, it only made her look more and more like the floundering true culprit struggling pathetically. The requirements for the whodunit and howdunit had been satisfied. As for the whydunit, the motive, the heart. No matter how much she spoke of gratitude for her master, who had graciously given her a job when she had been left by the wayside after various misfortunes, it didn't help her case in the slightest in the mystery genre. Therefore, her motive didn't matter. All that could just be squeezed out of the culprit afterwards. An Inquisitor of Heresy took out a roll of parchment and held it forth, cutting off the maid's sob and protests. This is how you committed the crime. Know that this indictment has been received by the Great Court, and that your arrest has been approved. Here's the warrant for your arrest. Motive is unnecessary. Know that such a thing is completely extraneous to the matter of pinpointing the culprit. Please allow me to speak. Know that we of the SSVD possess methods of forcing unrepentant criminals to reveal the truth. With these interrogation tools, blessed by the powers of justice, we Inquisitors of Heresy will strap up your limbs, burn you, crush you, stretch you, and hang you, and in doing so wring the red truth out of you. It isn't even necessary for you to confess. Aides, arrest that maid! It wasn't me! I didn't kill the master! No! No! Hold it right there. You've got the wrong culprit. A man kicked the door open. The Inquisitors were all shocked at the sight of him. Why are you here? Know that this case is no longer your responsibility. Quiet. You find one person without an alibi and just assume she's the culprit? Do you really think there's no need for a motive, for a heart in crime? Crimes are committed by people. There are no crimes without a heart. I'll never accept a theory that neglects the heart. Know that your obsession over the whydunit is simply embarrassing. The whydunit is unnecessary. Such a thing can be extracted easily through interrogation. Even the Great Court has already acknowledged that this woman is the culprit. True. The Great Court does assume that everyone besides the maid has an alibi. But that's just because they heard you say so, and they mistaken your overconfidence and conceit for wisdom. If any of the other suspects loses their alibi, your evidence so far proves nothing. Just look at how pathetic some of these other alibis are. Did the clock in the reception hall chime midnight at exactly the right time? Did the dog by the back door bark at everyone? So you managed to prove the maid's false alibi. Congratulations. But does that end there? It may have been possible for her to do it, but does she have any motive at all? Are their alibis for the others absolutely perfect? This maid wasn't the only one with a false alibi. You have to keep on searching if you want to find the others. Was there some sort of grudge against the victim, or some money-related problem? Don't abandon motive. Don't abandon the heart. Dry mysteries where the motive can just be figured out later aren't worth anyone's time. If the maid isn't the culprit, then why did she fake an alibi? Even asking such a question is a waste of time. Know that we just have to interrogate her, wring out the red truth, and have her sign in red blood to everything that happened at the time of the crime. Yeah, you probably can do that. You can just use that torture method of yours to squeeze out everything frankly and objectively, as seen from the eyes of God. But you know what? I'll never accept mysteries and theories that lack heart. I have already taken over responsibility for this case. I have even a decree right here. Come now, aides. Know that there is no reason to hesitate. I order you to arrest this maid. When she gave this order, her subordinates hesitated, looking back and forth between their superiors and that man. I won't let you. The real culprit is a different person. It's possible to use motive to find them, and their alibi trick is an old one. You can't neglect the heart. There's no need for that! We just have to find the suspicious ones who could have committed the crime, interrogate them, and squeeze out the red truth. On the off chance that they aren't the culprit, then we just have to interrogate the next suspect. You call that reasoning? Stand back! We will arrest that woman! Know that this maid is the culprit! It is forbidden for a servant to be the culprit. What did you say? The words of power blasted away the aides trying to arrest the maid. Van Dyne's 20 rules. Rule number 11. If you want to torture this maid, make sure you double-check the alibis for the second wife and her lover first. Those two already have a clear alibi for the time of the crime! That an alibi? Damn it, a fool like you couldn't understand no matter how easy I make it for you. If you want to call yourself a head inquisitor, try and figure out at least that much for yourself. Until then, I'll be taking that maid's arrest warrant. Then what about you? Can you prove that this maid didn't commit the crime? Know that she was clearly away from the kitchen at the time of the crime. What was she doing then and where? She can't prove it, I can't prove it, and you can't prove it. No one can. That's why we have no choice but to use these torture devices to interrogate her until the red truth is squeezed out. You can squeeze out as much blood and truth from the true culprit as you damn well please. However, I won't let you interrogate or torture anyone who isn't that culprit. This is why everyone says you're too soft. All the suspicious must be interrogated. That is how we Inquisitors of Heresy conduct our witch trials. That's right. We are Inquisitors of Heresy. Felling evil witches is our job. However, we mustn't risk hurting the innocent. We mustn't put them under suspicion. All humans have their own personal truths. Those should only be exposed when they commit crimes. We've been given the right to expose them. But there's one thing that we can't do. What? No one, not even God, has the right to expose the innocent truths of those who have not sinned. The maid finally realized that he was trying to protect her. I don't know who you are, but thank you very much. I'm really not the culprit. Yeah, I know. Your boyfriend said he's willing to give up everything to prove your alibi. You should thank him. A kid said that honor and reputation are worth nothing compared to you. But if he does that, he'll... It won't come to that. Exposing the secrets between lovers is a job for third-rate magazines. That's not mystery. I'll never allow for heartless reasoning. Then, for the first time, the man's sullen expression relaxed. He patted the maid's head roughly. I'm sure you two will be happy together. Still, meeting together in secret while on the job is hardly praiseworthy. Try to keep that to a minimum. Thank you so much! Thank you so much! Those words were heard only by the two of them. The man that heard of her innocence, which could only be proven by exposing the secret of a pair of young lovers. He had rushed about in search of a solution, resentful of the arrogance of those trying to expose this by forceful means. The point of theory making is not to create a culprit, or to trample the truths that lie in the hearts of those who have not sinned. If you want to play detective, don't neglect the heart. Otherwise, we're just intellectual ravagers. Don't forget it! When the man spoke, the Inquisitors no longer had any way to argue back. This man's name is Will, and yet that's not what everyone used to call him. Head Inquisitor of Heresy of the SSVD, the 8th District Repentance Enforcement Agency of the Great Court of Heaven. Wizard hunting right. This is the last thing I have to pass on to you guys. If you want to be the next wizard hunting right, remember it. No matter what. I'm very silly. I don't remember when I had that muted. Quietly, quietly. The rain fell down. The rain of sadness dripped down the outer walls of the chapel, quietly washing away the dust of the world of living. Oops. The chapel doors were open. During the wedding, only those with invitations are allowed inside. However, during a funeral, the doors are open to all who remember the deceased. So, this must be a funeral. A shadow holding an umbrella approached the chapel. It was Will. My leg is numb. A reception desk had been set up at the chapel's entrance. As the shadow approached, Kano, who had been sitting at the desk, stood up and welcomed him with a bow. This is the reception desk. We are collecting the names of all mourners. If you would sign in here. Sorry, but I'm not a mourner. I'm here to meet with someone. You came to a funeral to meet someone? A dubious expression rose to Kano's face. Will, with an envelope in his pocket, showed him the sender's name. My apologies. Please enter. Thanks. Could I at least have one of those? Thank you very much. I'm sure she will be pleased. Kano handed him a set of golden roses, which were being handed out by all the mourners. Will took it, silently bowed his head, and entered the chapel. Inside the chapel, several people who appeared to be the family of the deceased were gathered, and they all seemed to be recalling memories of the departed. Oh! Beatrice! Why? Why? Oh! Father, please take care. Why don't you rest in the waiting room for a bit? I killed her. I did it! Absurd! How could that be, Rosa? Father's really bawling. Yeah, Beatrice, huh? I'm sure he didn't cry this much when Mother passed away. Hey, now's not the time to say things like that. Some sobbed, unable to conceal their tears. Some spoke softly of fond old memories. Some spoke softly of old memories. They were all remembering the dead in their own way, it seemed. When Will approached the altar, several people turned around. Of course, none of them knew who Will was. Paying this no mind, Will walked in front of the casket on the altar, which seemed to be buried under the gold roses. Inside the casket was no corpse. Instead, as though it lay there in place of a body, was a single thick book with an extravagant binding. The space all around it was filled with countless gold roses. There were words printed on the book's cover. To my beloved Beatrice, October 5th, 1986. Miss Beatrice. If it was Mrs., then forgive me. I've never met you. However, allow me to express my condolences. He took the rose he had received the reception area and placed it in the casket. He had absolutely no connection to the woman called Beatrice. However, since he had come to visit a funeral, he had to show a minimum amount of respect for the dead. As part of this, Will prayed for the passage of the dead into the next world. Also, I love how, solemn Balor is. I just like serious Balor. I don't really like it when he's being a dumb pervert. I just had to interject with that. That's why Balor gets some points lost. Sorry. Pardon me, but who might you be? I am Ushiromia Kraus. I'm serving as the chief mourner. This is my child, Leo. Oh look, it's another character I like. Pleased to meet you. I'm Ushiramiya Leon. Leon. Who the heck are you? It's written as this, but pronounced Leon. I guess it's a bit strange for a Japanese name. Will stared at Leon's face, wearing a confused expression. He hadn't seemed particularly interested in Kraus, but Leon had apparently drawn some reaction from him. Rather than interest, it was more as though if he felt like something was out of place. Also, one thing. If you've played Witch's Heart, and if you think that that Will makes you think of that one blue-haired guy I don't remember his name of, I forgot. Because, like, I heard something that, like, the Witch's Heart creator doesn't like certain headcanons, and thus, like, will be very whiny about it or something. I don't know. Because apparently they're not the best person or something. I don't know. But, yeah, that guy's based off him. Ronaldo? I forgot. But, yeah. Because obviously that one is also kind of, like, it's obviously influenced by Umineko. By the way, my favorite slime. I don't care what anyone has to say about it. Okay? I will defend Lime. I mean, Ash is pretty cool too, I guess. I don't like Claire. Sorry. She annoys me for some reason. It's the smile or something. Something about her really annoys me. Just by appearance. I don't know what it is. Sometimes I will dislike characters for, like, the most pettiest of reasons, and I don't know why. I'm mean like that. My bad. Anyway, let's continue. Kraus. Madame says it's about time. Ah, I see. Ladies and gentlemen, if we're too noisy in here, it may disturb the dead. I've been told the waiting room has been readied. Shall we move over there? When Kraus called out to everyone, they began to move toward the chapel waiting room. My apologies. Leon, could you entertain our guests for now? I will guide the others to the waiting room. Yes, Father. It looked like a natural conversation with no awkwardness for either father or child. Oops! My apologies, Leon. Could you entertain our guests for now? I will guide the others to the waiting room. Yes, Father. It looked like a natural conversation with no awkwardness for either father or child. Father and child, is it? Yes, but why do you ask? Ushiramiya Kraus's child is supposed to be Jessica. Jessica's my little sister. Do you need me to call for her? No, that won't be necessary. Apparently, some sort of game has already been being played right off the bat. Scratching at his head with an irritated look on his face, Will glanced around. Pardon me, but what sort of relationship did you have with the deceased? None at all. It's a real pain. Then why did you come to this funeral? Since Leon was a fairly mild person, Will's behavior was met with nothing more than a blank expression. A normal person would probably have put on a dubious look for long before this. Will scratched his head again and yelled angrily at someone other than Leon. I'm here. Wait. I'm here. I missed it. I'm here. Isn't it about time that you showed your face? The members of the Ushiramiya family had already followed Kraus's instructions and moved to the waiting room. By now, no one could be seen in this cold, vast chapel decorated with gold roses except for Will and Leon. So you've come, wizard hunting right, inquisitor of heresy. The girl's voice came suddenly from behind the pair. When Leon turned around in surprise, a girl had appeared out of nowhere and drifted down on top of the pillar. An altar. I'm sorry. Why do I keep doing that? And drifted down toward the altar. She landed softly on the sacred funeral altar as though it was perfectly normal, crushing the golden roses under her shoes. Of course, Leon didn't know this girl. Just why on earth were all these people unrelated to the funeral popping up one after another? I'm already retired. If you have a job you need doing, go ask the new right.
No, you're the one I want to ask. I'm giving this case to you. Did you read the tale I sent you?
I skimmed it. I don't know who you are, but please get down from there. That's a sacred altar. Snapping out of the daze, Leon told the girl to get down off the altar, but she ignored this completely. On top of that, Will kept on talking to the girl as though Leon wasn't even there. I hear this is Leon. Who is that exactly?
You've already heard who.
Ushinomiya Leon. There's no case of a person with the name appearing in any of the previous games. Is this your piece?
No. It's a true and proper piece of this game board. A character appearing in the story.
You're the game master. That means it's your piece.
I've just moved from Beatrice's cat box into a larger cat box. Leon is one of those pieces who has a possibility of appearing inside it.
Ah, I see. In other words, it's your piece.
It's a piece I've placed, would be the correct way to say it.
So you're saying this piece isn't your subordinate like Erica?
Erica? Who's that?
Erica? Huh? Don't try to understand. You'll just get a headache. Leon didn't have a clue what they were talking about. However, though neither person was familiar, it seemed clear they both knew a lot about the Ushinomiya family. I don't know what you two are talking about. Anyway, you girl, please get down off the altar. I asked this as a successor to the Ushinomiya family headship. Even Leon was finally forced to speak in a raised voice to that girl, who continued to chat while casually standing on the altar. However, the girl ignored this completely. On the other hand, Will did show a reaction. The successor is supposed to be Kraus. My father Kraus will be the acting head until I turn 20. Then I'm able to succeed the headship. First I've heard of this. Can you prove it? It seemed that even Leon was starting to get ticked off by now. That calm expression appeared to twitch slightly. This is the successor's silver ring of the one-winged eagle. Is that proof enough for you? A silver ring. The golden head's ring has appeared several times. I've never heard anything about a silver ring for the successor. I don't remember Kraus or Jessica ever wearing one of those.
I'm glad. For someone who's just skimmed it, it seems you've read it pretty well.
When a witch hands you a story, you never know when something absurd will pop up. Especially one's a great witch from the Senate. Who in the world are you two? Sorry, but I don't have a clue what you're talking about. If you finish offering flowers to the party, please make your exit. It seems you two aren't worthy of our family's hospitality. Leon finally ran out of patience. These were the strictest words that this gentle kid could unleash. However, Will and the girl seemed not to care at all. I didn't come here because I wanted to.
We're wasting time, so let's move onwards. Right. Try and beat this game. As the game master, Bernkastel, and invite you to join in.
I refuse.
Why?
I'm retired now. Reasoning mysteries aren't my business anymore.
How do you intend to spend the rest of your life? Is wizard hunting right going to give up witch hunting?
There's still fox hunting and clam hunting to look forward to. I didn't come here to discuss the rest of my life with you.
So you came here to refuse?
Know that your powers of deduction are truly a sight to behold.
Then do as you will. Go wherever you please. That is, assuming that you can leave this place.
So, what are the terms in payment? In truth, Will had resigned himself from the beginning. He knew that he was incapable of refusing an invitation for the great Lady Bernkastel.
Who killed Beatrice? That's my game. In payment, I'll forgive you for your insolence and let you leave this chapel.
I heard that boredom-hating witches just love being spoken to rudely.
That's only for hags who've tired of life after 1,000 years. I'm still plenty young, so I love thinking up horrible fates in which to trap rude men like you. So, who's my enemy? There is none. There's no one to stand in your way. I just want to sit back and watch you make your beautiful checkmate in this game. I even found you an ally. That's what this Leon is for.
After hearing that name spoken out of the blue, Leon frowned once more. Apparently, they were moving things along without Leon's knowledge or understanding, which the latter seemed to find truly irritating.
Leon is a member of the Ushinomiya family, and should prove to be a useful ally, seeing as no one in the family knows you.
I'm not sure what this is all about, but I can hardly be of any assistance until I know what's going on here. There, see? With help like this, it'll be a piece of cake.
Entertain me, and my master, wizard hunting right. I'll maybe a polite theater goer, but I might throw popcorn at you if I get bored, okay?
Will scratched his head with his displeased look on his face. He wasn't at all interested in getting involved. By now, he realized he couldn't disobey Berncastle's orders. Then he approached the casket and pointed at the rose-filled insides. You asked me to solve the case of Beatrice's murder, but... Mandine's 20 rules, rule number 7. It is forbidden to have a crime without a corpse.
That's the devil's proof. Maybe it just isn't inside the casket. Unless you can prove that no corpse exists, this is mystery.
Rule number 1. It's forbidden to have a crime without all clues presented.
Don't worry. Everything is gathered here.
Though there was no change to Will's unsatisfied expression, he seemed to have understood the general pattern of this place. The simple fact that the mere Inquisitor of Heresy had been summoned by an Give me a moment, I messed up. The simple fact that a mere Inquisitor of Heresy had been summoned by an uninhibited, fickle, cruel Great Witch of the Senate meant that he be treated as no more than a mere underling. All along, he had possessed no way to refuse her. So, who killed the owner of this empty coffin? I'll answer that question. However, you'll let me do things my way.
As you like.
First off, I need to make you understand the current situation. Yes, that would be extremely helpful at the moment. Leon's expression seemed nonplussed, angry, and confused all at the same time. Over here. It'll be faster to see it for yourself. Wonderful. Please lead the way. Will signaled with his chin for Leon to follow him and spun around. After snoring once in an unsatisfied manner, Leon followed him as though resigned to see Will's little show. As she waved for them to leave the chapel, Berncastle sneered silently at them, a cold smile on her face.
As the Miko of the Great Witch of theater-going, drama, and spectating, feathering something aura, and as the Witch of the Miracles, I, Berncastle, announce the star of this game. The tale's title is Requiem of the Golden Witch. Spin a tale fitting for Beato's funeral. Well now, let's see just how you drag out the guts.
She watched until the pair had left the chapel. Berncastle's form evaporated into the empty air just as she had arrived. All that remained was her unpleasant cackling. Ow, ow, ow. I'm sorry, I hadn't remembered on you. Ow, ow, or something, something. Outside, it was still raining. When Kano saw the guests and the successor approaching the reception desk, he bowed deeply. Good work. You can take a break now, so would you mind leaving?
It's canon.
Yes, as you wish. Canon bowed deeply and then disappeared. Don't you remember the names of all your servants? Our family has many young servants coming in and out, and they're usually replaced quite frequently. Well now, what are you trying to explain to me? Who are you, and what business do you have with this family? Of course, there's no need to convince me. Feel free to head on home if you want. There is no going home. Not for me. Not for anyone. Could you please give that a rest? Stop speaking in confusing riddles like that all the time. Even I have my limits to my patience. If you don't want me to see you off, should I call Genji or Goda? Don't freak out. Look at this. Yes, I can see that. It's one of the memorial roses. Are you going to show me some kind of magic trick? Will took one of the flower offerings, then showed it to Leon as though pointing out there were no mechanisms or tricks. Then he slowly lifted it upwards. Watch. Yes, I'm watching. Is a dove gonna fly out of it? Or is it going to be flags and fireworks? Huh? Will threw the rose. Anyone would have expected it to fly in an arc and land in some puddle. It didn't, which is why Leon had been struck dumb. The rose thrown by Will certainly had flown in an arc. It should have sped on rapidly through the air. However, as soon as it passed out from the shade of the eaves and was able to reach the rain, it stopped right in midair, as though the air surrounding it had turned into syrup. That wasn't all. As it hung in midair, that rose's beautiful golden petals began to darken one after another, and it became a black husk, like burnt charcoal. And even after this happened, it remained suspended there in the air. What sort of trick is this? Don't move. Leon had tried to move closer to try and touch the remains of the rose, which still hung in the air. Will had roughly blocked the way with his arm. It was as though he was telling Leon that Leon this place was certain death. The chapel has been cut off from the fragment. We're currently locked in the concentrated loop of time. What? Do you mean by that? Explaining is a pain, so I'll just give you a short version. Basically, unless we play along with the witch's game, no one can leave this place. What? The funeral's already over! I'm sure some people want to return to the mansion or the guest house. We can't be locked up in here! If you got a bone to pick, that witch is the one you're looking for. Being stuck in a place like this isn't any more pleasant for me. That girl's your friend, right? Make her stop all this weirdness! She's probably sitting in a spectator's seat with a bucket of popcorn about now. She won't come if we just call her. What on earth is going on? That short sentence described all Leon's feelings at the moment. However, Leon had seen the rose Will threw wither in an instant in the rainy darkness. Leon tried doing the same thing with another rose. The effect was exactly the same. No one would want to use their own body to test this fearsome something that could make the roses crumble instantly. There's only one way for us to be released from here. We have to play along with Berncastle's game. You mean the one who killed Beatrice? That's what she's telling us to investigate. If you could fill me in, this will go more quickly. That fickle witch will be completely satisfied. You'll be able to get rid of the two of us, and I have a date with Diana when I get back. If I keep her waiting too long, she'll start tearing up the sofa again. Who killed Beatrice, you say? That's hardly something you should be barging into a funeral and asking the family about. Questioning the family is one of the basics of the mystery genre. Just give up and accept it. I do know that Beatrice is the mistress of Kinzo, the family head. You really are a strange person. How did you know so much about this family? Are you sure you have no connections with us? Will knew much about the Ushinomiya family because Berncastle had shown him all the fragments so far. Of course he had no sort of connection with the Ushinomiya family himself. The very plane of his existence was on a different level. However, Beatrice died a long time ago. According to Genji, she passed away before the mansion was completed, but the reason for her death is unclear. To be honest, this is the first I've heard about her being killed. Tell me about it. My name is Ushiramiya Leon. Willard. Call me Will. For the first time, Will introduced himself. Their mutual introduction was finally complete. Leon was finally able to talk with him on even footing. However, Leon took a deep breath and looked up at the sky, wearing a vague smile. Will. Call me Will. I'll call you Leon. Will. To be honest, even I don't know much about this person called Beatrice. I see. Guess it's called a game for a reason. If only Leon could have told him everything, revealing the truth without any effort from Will. Apparently, things wouldn't be so easy after all. Everyone who enters the Ushiramiya family knows the name and image of Beatrice. That's because of the massive portrait hung around in the entrance hall, isn't it? That portrait was first displayed in April of 1948. That portrait was first displayed in April of 1984. Seriously, how is it that you know so much? Ah, well, it's about time I stopped finding that odd. I'm sure you'll just start speaking in riddles again. Leon was the successor and lived in the head household. That made conversations with Kinzo an everyday occurrence. Because of this, Leon must have been used to chatting with people who were moody or hard to follow. With the understanding that get stuck on details would be nothing but a waste of time, the conversation naturally fell into a pattern as though Leon and this unknown man Will were longtime friends. Everyone knows Beatrice, and yet no one knows her. Kinzo's the only one who has ever met her. The head seems to be particularly cranky today. I'll introduce you to him when the chance presents itself, so I'll ask that you develop an appropriately discreet attitude, Will. That was quick. I thought you'd resist a bit more than that. I'm used to speaking with the family head. I've learned to accept most unreasonable situations and just go with the flow. Burn Castle has set up a barrier cutting off the chapel from the rest of the world. To destroy that, they'd have to find out who killed Beatrice. For Leon, who'd already experienced many of Kinzo's rantings, understanding this much was more than enough. Alright. Yay! Also, I like Leon as well. Notice any hints so far? Ushiramiya Leon, the first child of Kraus and Natsuhi. Jessica's their second child, was given the silver ring of the successor to the headship and will succeed the position of the family head upon turning 20. Mild, polite, and without any clear faults, except for being too young, Leon is more suitable successor than anyone and is adored by Kinzo. So the one with giggles over there. And Kinzo is alive in this fragment. Ushiramiya Kinzo, the age head of the Ushiramiya family. Oh, okay. It's just the same stuff. Ushiramiya Jessica, Kraus and Natsuhi's second child. Leon was chosen as successor to the headship, so Jessica dreams of pushing the family responsibilities onto Leon and leaving for the city herself. Apparently, even this massive change to her environment, which was brought about by her not being the only child, hasn't changed her personality. Okay, that hasn't changed. Ushiramiya Balor, the son of Rudolph and his first wife, Asumu. When his father married a second wife shortly after Asumu's death, Balor rebelled and went to live with his grandparents on his mother's side. However, both of these grandparents have passed away. He has now returned to the Ushiramiya family after 6 years. However, it seems he is not participating in this year's family conference. Ha! Bernkastel, the Witch of Miracles, and Miko to the Witch of Theatergoing. In the 7th game, she conducts Beato's funeral. She is defeated in the previous game, making her the loser. She has proclaimed that she and will tear out the guts of Beato's game to satisfy her irritation, and yet... Willard H. Wright, a member of the SSVD, the 8th District Repentance Enforcement Agency of the Great Court of Heaven, an Inquisitor of Heresy, and a first-class Archbishop. He is commonly known as the Rite of the 20 Wedges, or Wizard Hunting Rite. He is an ace Inquisitor of Heresy in his youth, feared for being both ruthless and merciless in his work. However, at some point there was a change in his work attitude, and his previous flashy escapades have become a thing of the past. His current style is often fickle, alternating between laziness and obsessive bursts of energy regarding mere trifles. By now, everyone has given up trying to understand him. He's already filed his resignation, and it has accepted it. Only a few days remain before he'll lose the name of Wright. Alright. Tips. SSVD, one of the Repentance Enforcement Agencies under the direct supervision of the Great Court of Heaven, responsible for the 8th District. It has a long history even among the other enforcement agencies and is known for its strict and fundamentalist attitude. Many say they do not keep up with the times, but they are also highly praised by some for continuing to preserve the basis of the law's spirit to this very day. It is traditional for the head Inquisitor of Heresy to inherit the name Wright. There we go. And that's